You're live.
Hey, it's back. We're back. The Martin boys are back. Glad to be here tonight. It's not mother-in-law money. Just get rid of that.
Well, let me just
I know
do some housekeeping.
I know you.
Just some housekeeping.
Complain. Yeah.
All right, now there you go.
Exit out.
Well, why don't you talk and then I'll do the rest of the stuff that
out.
you screwed it up earlier. Okay, well here we go.
All right, there you go. There you go. Me, I always screw up. That's what it is. So
it is.
I'm here to screw up, folks. So, all right, we got waiting in the Orange Blue Room. David Whitley standing by.
Mr. Whitley.
All the way up in Nashville, Tennessee.
He's in Nashville.
Rob Browne is coming to us.
He's at the honky tonk
to update us, and then we have our buddy. Kyle Curtis tonight, Gator Bait. Let's go right to it right now.
Here's
buddy. The open. You know where to find it, Brenden?
No, I'm not touching your stuff.
Okay, now I got to take over because you don't know what to do as usual.
Well, just try.
I'll come in and fix it. Don't worry.
Try not to.
Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
It's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Hey, hello, welcome to the Buddy Martin Show with Brenden. Now it's the Martin boys.
Hey.
Good to have you. You know what I found today? I got a picture of it in there someplace. The first card we ever had written out on Dilly Dilly. If you found it in the wash of your pants.
Yeah, where is it?
I've got it on. I got it in my pictures over there. I'll show you in a minute.
So we've lost it.
No, I went and retrieved it, and I've got it in my file. I'll show you later. Anyway, folks, tonight our theme is sort of, if you were in Media Days tomorrow. Brenden and I were there many times. We're not there now, obviously. What would you ask Billy Napier? His turn up tomorrow, 2 p.m. in Nashville. He'll face the media, and I've monitored it for 2 days. Fairly tame out there, except for one little dust-up they had today on Paul Feinbaum's show with Mike Griffith, who was concerned that Nick Saban wasn't going to do a radio roll. Oh, my God.
Are you going to ask about my Nick Saban story?
Yeah. Not yet.
My SEC
not
Media
yet.
Day?
Not yet.
Nick
no.
Saban?
No, I'm going to answer that
running?
one yet. No. So I'm asking you, what would you ask Billy? I have my question. My column will be up soon about that. What to ask Billy Napier. Now, I'm going to just say up front, it's been a few years since I've been there. Football talk has changed a lot. The language has changed a great deal. And the column explains that. What will it be in 2 years from now? Well, actually, at the end of this year, when it becomes the new SEC with Oklahoma and Texas. And guess what I heard today? I'll get David Whitley on to talk about it, too. By the way, good evening to David.
Another one of my friends that likes me better.
Well, if you get him on the air, maybe you'll do a little better job of getting him up there.
He's right down there.
I know, but you got him buried down there, so let's go get him.
I didn't do it.
There you go. There he is. I told you he was. Hi, David.
Hello, Martins.
Yeah, we're here, buddy. Good to
It's a
see
double
you.
Martin.
Yeah, double Martin.
Good to see y'all.
There you go. This is for
The
you.
greatest-
Go ahead.
Okay, it's the greatest father-son Martinet since Dean and Dino.
Hey, all
I
right.
don't know who that is, but I'm going to say
Dean Martin.
Dean
is a
Martin?
singer. Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Rat Pack.
Rat Pack.
who that is.
Brendan. Oh, I failed as a father. There you go. Anyway.
You failed. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't know who Dean
Captain
Martin
of-
is. Oh,
Dean Martin.
Chairman of the
Frank
board.
Sinatra.
And
Frank Sinatra's chairman of the board.
no kidding. That's why I brought
Why
it up.
that? I thought you didn't know about the Rat Pack.
It's called sarcasm.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you pick up, David? 'Cause I apparently missed it. But anyway,
Well,
that's how it goes. Back to the point I wanted
Not
to
the only
say.
language that's changed.
When I was talking earlier, before I was so rudely interrupted, talking about SEC Media Days, I have this column coming up tomorrow about have the Oklahomans and Texans hijacked the SEC already? My goodness, that's what the column's about. And I heard this today. And I'll move on to something else. We'll have our report from Rob Browne here a little bit up there in Nashville. And as soon as Paul Feinbaum took his first call today, late in the show, a guy pops on, I believe, from Tulsa. All right, the first question today is, did you realize Oklahoma's out recruiting Texas this year? I mean, we don't give a rep. You're not in the SEC yet. Come back and see us next year. And like I said, I have these nightmares that our league has been hijacked by the people in the Lone Star State and out there in Oklahoma. What do you think, David?
Hijacked? Well, when they roll into Atlanta or wherever the SEC championship game is and walk out with a trophy, then I'll say they're officially hijacked the league. Okay. Until then, they will hijack a lot of the attention, certainly for the next, well, not the next 11 months, but boy, you can just imagine what it'll be like next year, SEC Media Days in Dallas. It will be all about the new kids on the block. And, oh, man, there's just 10,000 great, juicy ways to approach that. You know, they are just itching to come in and prove their worth.
Dominate.
And everybody in SEC.
Dominate the SEC. They're going to dominate, right? Hey, Brenden, do you want to be there next year, Brenden?
Yes.
Next year when in Dallas, do you want to go there?
Yes, because there's pretty girls there.
Oh boy, David, I don't know. Are you looking forward to that, David? Next year in Dallas?
Oh yeah, I mean this is let's face it, we love the SEC, but this new blood, there's 10. It's all about, and you know this, but it's all about content, stuff to write about, and this is just manna from heaven. We can write about, and we have written about Alabama, LSU, Tennessee, Georgia. They're great programs, great stories every year. But to now drop the whole rivalry bomb into this, the old two of the most proud programs in the history of the NCAA.
They're from the Southwest Conference. They're not even legitimate SEC members.
I know. Oh man, you spoken like a true SEC disciple. That's going to be great. I wish Blackie Sherrod was still around so he could come back at you and go, "What are you talking about, Martin?"
Yeah, well, Blackie would know better.
I'm excited. I'm going to shake it up a little bit. I think it'll be good. I like David says. It's like, we got some other people to talk about.
Well, I'd say the talk has been pretty good for the SEC lately, and so are the national champion. Good evening, by the way, to our friends out there. Real quick, David, I want to say hi to our regular crew. Becky Smith-Carlisle, she's back. She's in the pole position again. David Baldoff, Dilly, Tommy Gunn, Seal, Kyle Curtis coming up soon, Robert Turner, David Baldoff, Terry Johnson, Frank Almeida, our good buddy David Baldoff again, and all of our team, including Terry Johnson, Jesse Cauldron, and folks. Glad you're aboard tonight.
And we're also streaming live to our new YouTube channel tonight as well. So dilly to all the people out there at the Buddy Martin Show or at the Buddy Martin Show on YouTube.
David, you haven't heard about this big news.
Yeah,
it's big news at our house.
I have not.
Yeah. All right, go ahead and tell
We're
us.
simulcasting right now at the same time.
Our own YouTube channel. Our own YouTube channel.
It's kind of mine, but it's okay. It's the one that I made and labored over, but it's nonetheless.
Check the name of the show. What's it called again?
Well, half of it's mine. I share the Martin part.
Yeah.
So anyway, nonetheless, we're on YouTube. So if that's your jam, and if you're out there in YouTube land, hey, what's up? Hey, punch the subscribe button if you're watching.
Yeah, do that.
Please.
Sure.
Because we got to get to 1,000 subscribers there so we can make some money.
All right, I'm going to have the money commercial in just a second, but I want to ask David. David, think about this. You're there tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Grand Hyatt in Nashville.
Wait, he's in Nashville?
No, he is there tomorrow.
I was gonna be like,
it's a theoretical. Go with me on this.
Because I would be sure he'd be at the honky tonk.
David
right now.
understands what I'm talking about, all right? Okay. You're there, and you're up to the microphone tips. Billy Napier, 2 p.m., ready to go. Nick Saban now is 2 more slots behind him. And they say, David Whitley, what's your question for Billy Napier? What are you going to say?
I'd say, Billy, if you could speak honestly and not worry about the repercussions or how it might be taken, how do you really feel?
Lost audio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say again, David. We lost your audio.
Oh, okay. I'd say if you could speak plainly and honestly not worry about the repercussions or how anybody feels. How do you feel about Kirby Smart and the Georgia rivalry now? And the reason I ask that is because what our old friend, the guy we can always count on to give a little gig, the head ball coach said today about the rivalry. I don't know if did you catch that?
I didn't. Tell us what it is.
Well, Kirby was asked up there by someone about the Florida-Georgia game and the usual stuff and Dax, and he said, well, correction, it's the Georgia-Florida game. And this gets back to the head ball coach who then posts on Facebook. He says, well, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he says, well, it's going to be a Florida-Georgia game until you win 11 out of 12 like I did.
Oh.
So
I don't know if he said that or somebody said it for him, but I like it, whatever it was. It sounds
whatever
like
it was. It was classic experience, and that just makes you think back. Boy, you miss it when a coach would just say what pops into his head and not worry about the repercussions.
That's what I'm getting to. Now, I tried to couch mine in this column I did. Trying to think, what would I ask and how could I ask it? And I got to tell you, I listened today to some of the things I heard asked. David, I don't understand some of it, okay? They get into all these mishmash about variables and, numbers and whatever. Literally I had to stop and think, what did he say? I'm thinking, maybe I'm just out of touch. I haven't been up there in 3 years. The language has changed. Their vernacular has changed. The demeanor has changed. It's all different. But, I understand progress means change, but this is a different deal coming up right now. So I tried to pose a question, and I couldn't think of a good one. I thought, what would he answer? And I asked your buddy Graham Hall also.
My buddy, too.
Your buddy, too?
Yeah.
I don't know. He told me he didn't care for you, but that's all right.
Really?
Yeah. That's what he said.
What's up with that?
You're thinking of David. David likes you.
David does like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I get to my question here, which is lost down here somewhere in the screen.
Yeah. You need notes? Is that what it is?
I have
Cliff
it.
Notes. He's got
I like to be precise when I quote somebody.
Yes.
Brenden,
I could tell. Yes.
So I guess I won't be able to get it there.
You
because,
go. I'll help you.
Graham had this question, what to ask Billy. I said, Graham, by the way, is on his way up there, and he got shanghaied by the airlines. What else? I said, what would you ask? He said, I'll ask Billy about the state of the SEC. I think we can figure that out, meaning Oklahoma, Texas. His thoughts on the quarterback room. Everybody's going to ask him that. And what he makes of the realignment in the conference. Now, do you suppose he means no East-West, or how would you interpret that, David?
Realignment? Or how Billy's
the whole question.
Oh, the whole question?
Yeah.
Well, it'll be the same answers he's given to those for the last 6 months.
Okay.
We have faith in Graham Mertz. We did a lot of study. He was one of the first guys we tried to get in contact with. We had a lot of confidence in him, and we have a lot of confidence in our backup Miller. And the song and dance that will come. Realignment. He says, well, it's going to be tough wherever they put us. We love rivalries. We want to keep it going, but I just trust that Greg Sankey, they're going to do the right thing, and Scott Strickland. That's when they say it's talking season. It's the start of talking season. It's been talking season since January. When did they lose? January 1st? No, it was before It was before the first of the year. When was that Las Vegas Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the date.
It's been talking season for months. Now it's just more intense talking season.
Yeah.
Because nothing has really changed that they have to talk about since spring practice when they you figured out, all right, yeah, Mertz is definitely the number one now, but maybe there's some room, there's a competition and all that, and but beyond that, unless he comes out and drops a bombshell of something like that, somebody has dropped out of the team. I mean, there wasn't. I noticed that Kirby just dropped it. One of the cornerbacks they got from A&M, supposed to be really good, is no longer with the team. And no further comment was made. So something happened there, and some highfalutin cornerback is now back on the market. But there's a story there somewhere. But unless he comes out tomorrow and says something that we haven't heard, like Jason Marshall isn't here because we got it this morning. He's decided to join the Women's Tennis Association or something like that.
I like that. That's a good story. I'll go with that. I like that.
Yeah. That would be big. But short of that, I think he'll be asked the same questions we've asked him for the last since spring practice, and he'll have the same answers because there's no reason not to answer any differently.
We have to keep asking. Hold on one second while I pay a bill.
Yeah.
I want to tell folks about Titan MRI. Titan MRI is worth a short drive to Gainesville. No insurance, no problem. You can pay with cash or card with same-day scheduling available. You can start feeling better today. Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, and the villages. That's TitanMRI.com. All right, so here's the deal. The FPI projection is out. I never understood what this is exactly, but apparently the deal is Florida is picked to be somewhere between 6.8 and 5.2 in the record and winning department. All right?
What does that mean?
Well, I guess that means it's what their projection. So,
like, do you know what the calculation is, David? How do you come up with that?
No.
Like algorithm?
Who's projected? The FBI?
FPI. Mm-hmm.
Oh, FPI. I thought FBI. Heck, the FBI's got his hand full just trying to find out the cocaine in the White House.
Yeah, they got to take care of that stuff at the White House. You're right.
Yeah. The FPI. Yeah. So it will be between 6.8 wins and run that one by
6.8 and 5.2. That's their projection. They rank them, by the way, number 18. Number 18.
18.
Yeah. Which is surprising given the fact that most they could possibly win was 6.8 games, according to them.
Yeah, that is odd. I think they may figure, well, they're the 18th best team, but they have the first or second toughest record. So being the 18th best team, but you factor in the record, that equals the 6.8 wins. So I like how they get into the decimal points though, because the day when a team actually wins 6.8 games and loses 5.2, then I think we've overdone the math.
Well, that's why I was asking, because it sort of makes me laugh when we get into the half games, quarter games, 0.2 of games, and whatever. Yeah. I think that's just all for the gamblers.
Yeah, the half games for the gamblers. Now, when you get into the 0.8 of a game or 0.2 of a win and 0.8 of a loss, I think that's getting a little too granular. Unless you are going to start scoring it by 5-minute intervals every game. Sort of like the NASCAR races where they have a race within the race. Maybe they'll have the game within the game. The SEC.
Well, it's for gamblers and really OCD people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. We're really good mathematicians, maybe.
Yeah, none of which are I think on the screen right now, or else we would have gotten real jobs long ago.
Right? Yeah. No, I wouldn't be doing this job.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, David, what would you say if that were your name when you were putting those numbers down? Your pick.
How I would defend I'd say projection wise, 6.8 is their top. Or I'm sorry, or is that 8 points? See, these decimals just throw me totally off. 6.8 is
top.
6.2
is the bottom. I guess.
5.2. 6.8. Yeah, 6.8 is defensible because.
So you think 7 games are going to win? Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
You got to round up there.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah, here we go, math again. 6.8 is closer to 7 than 6, so you got to round up. And so, you can easily make the case for a 7-win season with them, or you can make the case if they win all the games they're supposed to win, then probably be a 5-win season. So they got to win a couple of toss-ups, and if they win more than a couple of toss-ups, and actually, this team solidifies a bit. I think 8 is the ceiling. And as long as a good 8 and swinging up, and especially if number 8 is the last game of the year, that will be a big boost as well. And now we're not counting the bowl game either.
All right. So what's your number then?
My number would be 6.9.
Regular season.
You got to round up.
Yeah. Okay. 7.
The FBI doesn't.
But he has to. When you pick them, you have to round it up. All right. So we'll come back to you on that in a minute.
Yeah.
And I want to get a bulletin out of our people up in Nashville. But real quick, on another note, baseball. Today, Wyatt Langford signed for $8 million.
Signing bonus.
$8 million he had. And then
we
also had Josh Rivera That didn't do quite as well. He got $872,000. I'd say it's a pretty good payday.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's more than I got today.
Yeah, right?
Oh, come on, Dave. We know what you make. Don't play games.
Yeah.
Let's go see our buddy Rob Browne. Go ahead.
I was going to say, both these guys, they can afford to give away some subscriptions to Gator Bait for Christmas presents now with that kind of money.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So there's Rob. Say hello, Rob. Can you hear us?
Yeah, ready. We just got back up to the room. How y'all doing tonight?
Good, man. Good, fine. We're a little bit early on you there. They say hello to David Whitley.
Hello, David. How are you doing? Good.
Hello, Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a man. The town of construction. It's been raining off and on. They canceled the Midland concert tonight, but we just came up from Broadway and people everywhere.
It's a good town. It really is. I lived there once a long time ago before it was that populated. But it's a good town. I think it's a better town. It's probably the best town to go to in terms of road trips. Obviously the football hasn't been that great. But
the road trips?
Absolutely.
Why road trips?
Nashville.
What about the road trips?
I'm talking about people who cover the team, as I have for many years.
Oh, wow.
In terms of, these guys know what I'm talking about. Ball games.
Right.
So, I think it's good. So Rob, tell David and I and Brenden, if he's not paying attention, I don't know. But anyway, tell us what's going on today. Kirby was there. We just heard, I did not know this. David just informed me. Apparently, HBC had a comment on his Facebook page when Kirby called it the Georgia-Florida game. That used to be a point of contention when I lived in Jacksonville, and I always wrote Florida, Georgia, Florida, Georgia, Florida, Georgia. Kirby called it the Georgia-Florida game. And David, what did he say on his Facebook page?
It says it'll be the Florida-Georgia game until Kirby wins 11 out of 12, like he did, like the head ball coach did.
See, that's why that's why he made SEC Media Days great.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it was good. I remember I was sitting there. That was after he'd been on the big stage, and he said, "Excuse me, it's the Georgia-Florida game."
Yeah.
He made a point to say that.
Did anybody say anything to him? No.
No, and I actually was talking about the game being moved potentially, and his comment was, "I want what's best for the student athletes." He didn't get into whether they should move it.
He wants what's best for Kirby and the Bulldogs. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Don't give me that student athlete crap.
That's what he said.
You know what's about some recruiting advantage? He thinks.
Yeah.
I always poke fun of it, saying Kirby Smart canceled Christmas this year. It got in the way of recruiting.
That's right.
So what was it like up there today? Tell us what was the atmosphere, Rob. And tomorrow we got Billy Napier. We have our mythical questions ready. And what's all the talk? Is there any talk besides the Kirby? And I know tomorrow we get Nick.
Yeah, I thought, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt it's the same story. They have a long-term plan, but it'll still be Vanderbilt football, and God bless them, bless their hearts. Then you got into Kirby Smart. He was good, but he was asked by some of the reporters in there about accountability, about speeding tickets and all, and his answer was, look, 18 to 22-year-olds, that's when you get in trouble. He goes, that's when I did. But someone asked him about holding these guys accountable and the problems, and he said, ask any of our players. If they mess up, we punish them. But that's all you got, and nothing beyond that.
Well, look, we know about this, and David joined in with me here. I feel a little bit for Kirby on this. I know it's difficult when you mix testosterone of 18 and 20-year-olds with fast cars and late nights. Things happen.
Honky tonks.
Who among us have not? Well, it's not so much the honky tonks.
Oh, I'm just thinking about being in Nashville. Yeah, I used to go to Nashville all the time.
I know. We care about that.
I wasn't covering the game.
No, we really care about that.
No, I was partying.
So the bottom line is that I know it's difficult to govern these young men. Who among us, including this one, hasn't gotten behind the wheel of a car when they shouldn't, gone a little too fast, especially at that age. But it's gotten to a point where it's serious now with the death of this young woman. And something has to be done. I don't know what you can do. David, Rob, what would you guys do if you were Kirby Smart about the cars?
Well, I would go to just about any other school in the country and ask what they're doing because, kids are at that age. are irresponsible and they do tend to speed, but every football program out there has the same number of 18 to 22-year-olds, and none seem to have nearly the problem with speeding that Georgia does. I mean, they have problems. Well, I mean, we saw that at Alabama, but you have one consistent problem here if you just look at the number of speeding tickets and violations and street racing and all that. So unless these other schools are just not reporting these, they have as many and they're not being reported, which I find hard to believe that nobody would notice. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard of anybody, of a lot of Florida players being pulled over for street racing, or Miami players, or Auburn players, or Alabama players, or something like that. I mean, they all have their own warts. They all do. But this is Georgia is a pandemic there of speeding. So if I'm Kirby, I'm saying, well, yeah, we're holding them responsible, but we have to do more than what we're doing, because whatever they're doing obviously isn't working.
Yeah, I'd give them 50 hours of community service if they do it, because it's like it's a joke and nobody's being held accountable. So if you don't nip it in the bud now, it's going to be a major problem, and it's going to lead to other things. If they feel like they're not going to get in trouble in their behavior, they can do whatever they want, then you're going to lose control of your program. You do not want to go down that road.
Yeah. Let's get to the issue of hand here, which is, can Billy Donovan build us up? Billy Donovan. I always thank Billy. I'll always thank for Billy was here, but I didn't mean Billy Donovan. I obviously meant Billy Napier. Can Billy Napier build his program fast enough to satisfy the Florida Gators? And is there any talk about that yet, Rob? And tomorrow you'll be listening to him. And the other thing is that the recruiting has gone extremely well. And by the way, this just in, Florida just flipped a 4-star wide receiver from FSU. His name is Tawaski Abrams from FSU. That's a double get, because it takes one away and adds, but a good lick, David.
And I hate Florida State, so there's that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just my take is Auburn and Florida are almost in identical positions. You've got Napier in his second year, Hugh Freeze in his first year, but both of them inherited programs where the recruiting had dipped a lot. And now Billy Napier, every couple of days, Florida gets another stud player. Now they're starting to take him away from Florida State. You go back in 1985, 86, when Florida got in trouble, that's when Florida State made their ascension from 87 to 2000, 14 straight top 4 finishes. Now Florida is in the SEC, and they're going out, and they're number 3 or 4 in the country in recruiting right now. They've got momentum. Yeah, for the class of 24. But as far as this year, it's the quarterback issue. And I heard Shane Matthews talk about, just because Anthony Richardson's gone doesn't mean the quarterback that's coming in this year isn't good. He talked about the smarts and the football IQ of all like that. I think it's all going to boil down with Florida to the quarterback position. And you've got to have a quarterback. Last year they had one that was the number 4 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
But you only won 6 games. So the pressure is such that Shane Matthews is right. Fans don't give you time anymore. But if you start changing coaches every 3 years, you're never going to get anywhere. So I think Florida can win a bunch of games this year, but they got a brutal schedule.
Even though Florida can't play these players until 2024, a lot of them.
Yeah.
The fact is, I've subscribed to the theory. I know it's a cliche. A rising tide raises all ships. I think the mood has already changed in Gainesville in the last 6 weeks. David, you're there. Do you agree that things are happening? They're different and more encouraging to the Florida football program?
Well, the only news that you really get in the summer, last 6 weeks, is recruiting, and it has been a darn good 6-week span.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. I mean, no, they haven't gotten everybody, but they've gotten, obviously, if they're number 3 and number 4, that's a heck of a lot better than I think anybody thought they would get. And, fact is, having a top 10 recruiting class is good, but it's just, frankly, it's just not good enough in the SEC. You got to be top 5, because who else is going to be in the top 5, and that's Georgia and Alabama, and LSU is always going to. So, I mean, you have to be at the penthouse and be in that top 3, 4, 5 to really have a kingpin type SEC program. And so, yeah, I mean, the mood is good because the only real developments lately have been recruiting. And that's something that, recruiting always gets people really more excited than it should and more depressed than it should. If they lose somebody, the world is in. If they get somebody, everything is great. But right now, the news is great. So, yeah, there's the upswing. And there's no reason to think it won't continue for the next month when they're just scrimmaging each other, unless Mertz breaks a hand or something. Or Miller's out again, and then you're suddenly your third team QB. But beyond that, they'll look good, and I think everything will be the upswing, and then we'll know for sure on August 29th. The mood could take off again, or it could suddenly be a thunderstorm.
Yeah, and you mentioned Auburn, Rob. I believe I saw Hugh Freeze today. He's pretty impressive. He's owned all the mistakes in the past. I think Auburn's got a fresh new psyche about him, and they are going to recruit well, I think, and be well. I think they'll be one of the underdogs, one of the sleepers. But their schedule is so hard, Rob.
Yeah.
That's their problem. They got too many tough games.
Yeah, and I think Hugh Freeze he's still got some of the same problems that he had, that Brian Harsin had. Guys not showing up for practice, not showing up for workouts. Just not doing things the right way. And there's just a hangover. And then you've got some of these guys that are fifth and sixth year players still hanging around. I think David's right. People get too high on recruiting and too depressed when things don't go right. Everybody in Auburn just wants to see them play the games. You've got UMass in your first game, then you go to Cal. You better win all those games like that. There's not any, hey, we played well. I like the thing about Hugh Freeze is he mentioned today, everybody knows me in this league. He goes, a lot of guys that have been on my staff are on other staffs. So I had to think about that. And I had to think about spending time with Nick Saban, spending time with Kirby Smart. I've got to be looking at my program like they do. So he goes, I've got Ken Austin. He likes his staff. He likes Philip Montgomery. But I look at Florida. You have everything in the world that you need down there. And Billy Napier and now is recruiting and starting to fill in holes that Dan Mullen did not fill in recruiting. But question is, y'all know this, and Shane Matthews is right. Fans nowadays see what the coaches are paid and think they're going to win instantly. It doesn't work that way. Never has.
All right, this is good stuff from you, Rob. Thanks for being our eyes and ears, and maybe we'll get you back tomorrow night if you're available.
I will.
Yeah, good job up there, and let us know if any more news bulletins go on. Appreciate it very much, Rob. My best to your whole team, and we'll talk to you on Saturday on Sidelines. Don't miss it, by the way. 6 days a week, this guy.
Press roundtable.
So there you go. Press roundtable. He's a working Jesse, is all I got to say, okay?
Tell me the questions you want tomorrow. Hey, okay. I'm going to ask whatever questions y'all want me to do. I'll do anything you need me to do. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Okay. Appreciate it. Take care. Y'all take care.
My friend. David, stand by 1 second. We're also going to bring aboard here our friend Kyle in just a minute. We're going to talk more about this recruit. But first, I have to have this word from our friends at Meldon Law. Stand by.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Now, thanks to Jeffrey Meldon, one of our fine sponsors. Let's go right out now to the green room, which is now the orange and blue room. Used to be the green room. Now it's and see our buddy who's a hardworking guy, young guy coming up, and a guy that, where do you want to put him, Brenden?
I'd like to put him on the right side.
Okay, you put him wherever you want to put him. There you go. Because I usually don't do it that way, but that's fine.
No, because you always put me off to the side. You never put baby in the corner.
Okay, Brendan's happy now. We can move forward. Hello. How you doing out there, Kyle?
How we doing, guys? Good night. Well, good night. Good commit right in the middle of the show. That's awesome.
Yeah. Say hello to David. We'll put the picture up of this guy and tell you about this 4-star receiver Tawaski Abrams. We won't forget his name, Tawaski.
I
How
like
many
it.
Tawaskis have you known?
None, and I like it.
Yeah. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
guy
How do you
right
spell
there.
that?
T-A-W-A.
How do you spell that?
T-A-W-A-S-K-I. Tawaski.
Tawaski.
Abrams. Yeah, from Fort Myers Dunbar. So I know you're learning about him too. This is a bit of a surprise, I think, wasn't it, Kyle?
So
His Wi-Fi's not working.
Well, he's not there. All right. Well, he'll come back to us.
Yeah. While we're waiting, anyway, David, the hits keep on coming here.
Want me to answer? Yeah, I'll answer. I think it must have been a surprise, probably obviously an unpleasant one over at FSU. Although they pretty much know that everybody that they have committed on every program is susceptible. Some guys shut down their recruitment, but I don't think that it takes two to tango. So I think every recruit will always be getting flirts from other schools until they actually sign on the dotted line. But yeah, I mean, anytime that you can get a 4-star, as you said, it would be considered a double win for Florida, which you pick one up and you take one away from your biggest rival. That has to be, that goes down as a good day in Gatorland.
That's a plus right there. You take one away, and so I think they're on a roll. Why are they so hot right now, David? All of a sudden,
they have a lot to offer. When you hear these kids talk about it, and for years we heard that all they needed was a facility to be the cherry on top, and they would have everything that a program would need to lure people. I think they have that now. It's just a question of making these kids believe in the leaders that are there. I thought it was interesting that they I think this past Saturday the top tight end, it was down to Alabama, Florida, Georgia, all the top schools. Yeah, and he went to Alabama because he said, they've proven it over and over. They put guys in the league, and all those programs, my finalists were great, but just something about Alabama spoke to me. So that doesn't happen overnight. They have to. Billy, he's a great salesman, but he's selling a dream. Nick Saban can sell the dream right now, and he has a track record to show him. Hey, you come here, you're going to get in the league. So, and that can only come in time. So that's the only thing I think that is if I was recruiting, I'm going back and I think, all right, he talks a nice game, and I believe in him, but I know that Nick Saban / Kirby Smart is going to get me into the NFL if I go there or have a good chance, because look all these other guys they've gotten in. So, and that's just got to come in time.
Yeah, Brendan's uncovering some background on this. That big push they had in June, we call it the June Bloom.
Yeah,
it's really starting to pay off. Brendan, read that paragraph.
It just says Abrams was on campus during Florida's June 16th through 18th official visit weekend. Inarguably the program's most successful individual recruiting outing in recent memory. That's according to, I think, 24 or SI.com. So so looks like he was all set to go to Florida State, and now he is not. So that's what we're hearing about it. Just reading all about it, just trying to catch up on him. So it looks like he's pretty awesome, 4-star wide receiver for class of 2024.
Yeah, you have problems. Kyle's having problems with his Wi-Fi. We know about that happening sometimes. So David, looking at the big picture tomorrow in Nashville, the Kirby story is kind of sliding over. The question would be, can you three-peat? That's one that's obvious. They didn't have as many questions about the issues of the players driving recklessly as they thought they would. Kirby spoke on it, but there weren't that many questions. I don't know. I don't know. What can you say?
I think, a lot of questions had been asked, and there's only so many ways you can re-ask a question, which it basically comes down to, what the hell is wrong with you guys? What's going on? And so after you approach it 3 or 4 ways, unless you start admitting, well, we got to do X, and the next guy who gets caught speeding is going to be kicked off the team. unless he gives you something solid like that. He just gave the standard responses beyond that. And then, I mean, it's funny how that is the great off-field question, but man, the on-field question is just, I mean, it's a crazy one, because when was the last time you're talking about a team winning 3 national championships in a row?
Right. Minnesota.
Yeah. I mean, that, and when you look at the schedule, you're thinking, I mean, if I'm betting, I'm betting heavy that they're going to waltz into the SEC championship game, because
the schedule
you don't see
the schedule, like Tony Barnhart said last night. I said they got a weak schedule. This is weak. It's a joke. I mean, they got maybe 1 or 2 games on their schedule. They'll fly through with no problems. Doesn't matter who plays quarterback. I could play quarterback in that schedule, By the way, I can fling it pretty good, just so you know.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, it's hard to imagine them not, rolling into Atlanta and then whether it's Alabama or LSU or some surprise team, they'll be favored over them, and then hello playoffs. Then it's just a matter of winning 2 games, and then that'll be very interesting then, because then it will matter who your QB is. But by in 4 months, you figure that they will have figured out the quarterback position by then.
If I may, I'd like to get back to the issue I started earlier tonight regarding the morphing of the SEC and how that's going to be so annoying to have all these old Southwest Conference people calling the shows and dominating, what have you. I know it's good. I'm just the old curmudgeon who's saying I don't like progress. I love progress. As a matter of fact, I tried my best to push for a playoff 30 years ago. I always thought it was going to be an issue that needed to be resolved, and I'm afraid that I had to be careful what I was asking for, because, I mean, just think about this for a second. I wrote this column tonight about a futuristic view. What if we woke up one day and found out there were only 5 teams left in the SEC, and 3 of them were in Texas? Perhaps they would have the SEC Media Days in Junction, Texas. You know what happened there with Bear Bryant. It's going to be, listen, I've never known, I have a lot of good friends who are Texans. I've never known Texans to be shy. They like attention. They also are bombastic, and there are a lot of them who have the old curse of all hat and no cattle. Texas fans, I mean, I was in my accountant's office this morning, and I saw a woman wearing a Texas jersey. I thought, well, here they come. Here they come. Used to be like when we lived in Colorado, Brenden, and they said, it's safe to go back to the slopes the Texans are going on.
Texas and Californians.
Yeah. So anyway, just my thoughts about it. And
he wants to do audio if you can.
He's coming in.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
We're still trying to get him in. So that's I'm gonna get back to that point again about that whole thing.
Are we working?
You're good. Stand by.
All right, awesome.
Stand by and say hi to David again. Anyway, we're talking about the Texas-Oklahoma influence. I can't get over the fact that they had that call today. First call was, well, Oklahoma's out recruiting Texas. Who gives a flip? They're not even in the SEC yet. So that's what we got coming. And I'm afraid that by the time that we get here, we're going to say, whoops, what happened to the old SEC, David? The old SEC, when they played in 2 divisions. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, we always look back, at the past, I think, with, sort of a gauzy, sometimes too romanticized to look at. I remember, of course, and people say, I remember what was it, the 10-team league, and well, heck, it still sounds strange to me that Missouri and Texas A&M are in the SEC, even though they've been in it for 12, 15 years now. It still just sort of clings off the ear.
Yeah.
But that's that you say.
Let me say this, not to date, David, not to date you and me, but when I started covering it, SEC, Tulane and Georgia Tech were in it. Okay, so it has changed a bit since then. Let's bring Kyle into this conversation. He can give us a little heads up on this new guy, this new hot wide receiver. What?
TJ, they call him, not Tawaski. It goes by TJ Abrams.
Oh, I thought you meant talking.
No, he's Coco.
So you got.
Okay, I don't know the language, but anyway.
You guys,
go ahead.
So you guys got it right. It was Tawaski Abrams. He's a guy. It goes by TJ. So to Gator fans, he'll be TJ Abrams. And
I wonder.
But yeah, this is a guy he committed January 26th to Florida State, and Napier's kind of been working him all summer apparently. The Josh Newberg, who's the head of On3 recruiting, has said that this kind of has been a work in progress, and this isn't just something that kind of happened overnight. He took a few unofficial visits to Florida over this past summer, kind of when all those big visits were going on, when Matt was talking about that.
June 16 to the 18, we just were talking about that during the June Bloom when Matt wrote about it.
Exactly. So, having all those guys there, having Lagway there, and having, I forget the exact percentage, but it's 6 or 7 out of the 11 official visits that were taken that weekend ended up actually committing. So, having that momentum there and being around that atmosphere, I think, kind of sealed the deal for him. And outside of Florida State, he also had offers from Georgia, Clemson. So Florida beat a lot of big people on the trail for this guy. And like you said earlier, being able to take something out of FSU's pocket is always a nice little cherry on top.
No doubt about it. It's a win. It's a W and an L for FSU. And we used to call it that when I worked in New York. We hired a guy from the other paper. Said, well, we got a W and an L. We got a win. They got a loss. That's a +2. So that's really good. So let me ask you. We've been talking about this, Kyle. You've been observing it. You and your buddy Matt the last few months, especially. What's going on? What is going on in Gainesville? But suddenly they're starting to haul guys in, Kyle.
I think it's just a combination of Billy Napier. His seed got planted when he got hired, and I think now you're being able to see it's starting to sprout a little bit. You're starting to see what he can do with these resources. They were saying it earlier. Florida has everything that you need. We got a brand new facility.
It's the everything school, they say, right?
It's
the everything.
It's the everything school. Everything. I mean, hey, you can't deny it. We just won the SP for it. So I think everything's kind of just coming together, and like we had with our Westfall, with our last commitment, having all of these different hires that Billy Napier has made, and being able to get that personal connection, not only with the player, but with the family, goes such a long way with these recruiting trips and stuff like that. And really, I just think you're seeing it pay dividends here, especially this summer. It's been one of the most historic recruiting summers in Florida Gator history. So, and I think that this is just the beginning and what you need for if you want to be able to turn around a program.
Yeah, like what David said earlier, these off months have been productive because there's been recruiting in the news. And, of course, that is the only news. So, and it happens to be going Florida's way for a change. You're not hearing as much about, Florida missed on another 4-star or 3-star. They went someplace else. It's kind of the momentum has been reversed. I think the hard work is paying off for Billy, and we'll see. All right, now I ask everybody else this question, Kyle, and I've asked David and Brenden. Tomorrow, when he gets there, Billy Napier at 2:00 at the Grand Hyatt in Nashville, you'll get a chance to say you were asking questions tomorrow. Now, remember the frame of reference. You just can't say, have you stopped beating your wife? I mean, that's not the kind of question you can ask. But given the context of where you can ask what you'd like to know and the expectations of getting an answer that you learns from, what would you ask Billy Napier?
So if I was sitting in SEC Media Day, I would say Kyle Curtis, Gator Bay Media, very productive offseason, a lot of new hires. It's going to be a new-looking defense this year. What do you expect to change in the defense from last year, and what really stood out to you in the hiring process that made you choose Austin Armstrong? Because, he's a real up-and-coming guy. Kind of similar to what he had before with Patrick Toney, and look where he is now. So I wanted to see what he saw in Austin Armstrong, and what difference it would be this year. I know that they said that there hasn't been much, but obviously with any change, there's going to be, as much as you want to keep it the same, there's obviously still going to be some change. So probably around the defense and what he saw in the hiring of the new coordinator.
Yeah, I think that Austin Armstrong hire David, I think we talked about it a little bit. From what little we know, apparently the personality he has, which impressed Nick Saban, he made him his linebacker coach, so Florida came in and took him away. That could be a nice little hire if it works out like people are talking about. And it could be the most significant one, since we know what the defense, how bad it's been in recent years. And now you have Corey Raymond, the architect of Mr. DBU and LSU, who has control of the whole secondary. I like that move. I think it's good. I don't know enough about this guy yet, but it sounds like he might be the ideal young firebrand that this defense needs. And they did play sometimes listlessly on defense, especially third down, David.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember a few months ago, I don't know what exactly we were talking about, but it was about talent acquisition when you're hiring somebody. And you relayed a story on how, I think you were talking to maybe even our late great friend Van McKenzie, where he had two applicants, and one was sort of a proven guy, veteran, a Charlie Strong type, or a guy with a lot of potential. Says, who do you go with? And he says, you always go with a guy with potential who looks like he could be the next up and comer. And so that seems to be Billy's modus operandi here with his staff. A lot of young guys, a lot of eager guys, and with just enough sprinkling of the proven guys too, and a nice combination. You mentioned, when that defense, I think, is in pretty good hands right now.
Yeah, Kyle, I've said this before, and I'm repeating myself. I'm sure I said probably this morning on the morning show, Pot Up with Matthews, but this guy might be sneaky, Napier. If you think about what's happened to the clock, where they have a running clock now, except on fourth down, has all changed. Now, controlling the clock becomes very significant. If you've got a running game and you've got a good offensive line and you can control the football, you've got an upper hand, and I think that's what he's aiming for. What do you guys think? First you, Kyle.
I think that, he knows his personnel, and I think he knows who he's playing. He's still trying to get his guys in there. He's still trying to recruit top level people. And, obviously last year, to just say it straight, it wasn't the most talented group. When they stepped on the field every Saturday, I think, we went in there a few times knowing that, they had just better players on the other side of the field. And, this year, I think that, Billy Napier is going to really play towards his strengths, and that's the run game, being able to control the clock. And then I think what we're missing was being able to get those timely stops on defense last year. If you look back at, you can take 3 or 4 plays out of a few games last year, and we got 3 or 4 more wins. So it's all about, and that's how it is every year, but it's more so just being able to control the game. And the rule changes definitely help Billy Napier and his running attack. But I saw a Instagram post or something like that today of it was like most entertaining SEC coaches, and I think it was probably in terms of like media presence and stuff like that. And Billy Napier was ranked 14th.
Yeah, that was an old one on Facebook too. I saw that. Yeah,
and but I think that's exactly where
Steve Spurrier, right?
I think that's exactly where he wants to be. I think he wants to have people on his toes. I think that he handles his business, and I think that's where he wants to be. So some people might have taken that a bad way. It kind of fired me up a little bit. I was excited for it. So.
Hey, David, you might remember this reference. It's a long time ago before your time. An old Johnny Carson skit where they had Burt Reynolds and somebody else and George Gobel, some big star or whatever, on the sofa. And they were all talking and cracking wise. And George Gobel said, I feel like a pair of Browne shoes with a tuxedo. Now, little did he know they'd be popular someday, but the point is that I think that's what Kyle's talking about. Billy's just fine being the pair of Browne shoes with a tuxedo.
I think that was a good observation by Kyle, because some people might take that, as he said, as an insult. But Billy Napier, he's very comfortable in his skin, and he knows. I mean, he could he could get up there and quip if he wanted to, but his personality, he is a matter of fact, laid back guy, and it doesn't bother him, and he knows he's not there to put on a show. I mean, what really matters to him is what happens on a Saturday, and he knows that you can be the greatest entertainer in the world, but if you're going 5-7, you're not going to have a job. He'd just soon go out there and entertain on the field and let that be his calling card. And I mean, you're right. And the thing about it, he may be 14th, but at least he's a very pleasant 14th. Like if you were to rank like the NFL coaches, Belichick would be the bottom because he's such a grouch and you get nothing. He's not cooperative. Billy he's very cooperative. He will talk.
He's
forever.
not a Greg Popovich.
He just doesn't say much. When you boil it down.
Yeah, and they don't pay you bonuses and give you new contracts for winning talking season. Although Spurrier won both. That's what we got spoiled.
Yeah.
He could talk and he could coach, and that's good. So I think they're in good shape right now. Here we are, not even through the month of August, June and August coming up. Who knew that last spring we'd be talking like this about the successful recruiting of one Billy Napier, when most people thought he was a terrible recruiter already.
Yeah. Another. You go ahead, Mr. Whitley.
Oh, please call me David. Mr. Whitley was my father. God rest his soul. But anyway, I appreciate it. One thing I think this does is, there's such a mushroom cloud over the Rashada thing when it first happened. And you heard so much, man, this is really going to hurt him recruiting because they will have no credibility with NIL and all that. I think this is pretty much proven that that's not the case, that was pretty much a one-off. And they've gotten their act together seemingly on the NIL front, because you're always going to have some guys that will go to schools because of money, but apparently they're in that game for sure.
Yeah, guys, it's always great having you on to talk a little Gator sports and Gator recruiting. And who knew we'd have a new one to talk about tonight, Kyle? Good stuff, David. As always,
great stuff.
Love doing this show with you, David. We'll go together next year out to Dallas Fort Worth. We'll take the old people's flight, and snuggle in the back and get our warmers and hand warmers and sit in the back of the room and send our questions up by carrier pigeon, right?
Yeah.
You can read David Whitley. You should if you're not in the Gainesville Sun. You can read Kyle Curtis in Gatorbait doing some great stuff. He and his buddy Matt are killing it on recruiting. So, guys, thank you so much tonight for being on the program. And our thanks also to Rob Browne up in Nashville. Back tomorrow night with more of the same. David, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Kyle. All right, folks, I want to tell you about our friends at Renstar Medical Research. Can't emphasize enough how much we appreciate what they do for us. They have been our partners for a long time, and they support our community. They support the program. They're a great Gator family. For those you don't know, Joe Sorrentino's son played for the Gators, and very, very, and over there, by the way, his partner, who is Mary Brantley, is married to Scott Brantley. So they're Gators through and through. They're good people here in Ocala, and they're well known nationally for what they do. They have a proven reputation as a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility. Renstar Medical Research brings cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in areas like Alzheimer's, psoriasis, dementia, osteoarthritis, migraine, fibromyalgia, along with many other conditions that affect us right here in our community. They'd like you to know that if you want to be a part of what they do with their clinical research, you can call them, or actually better to go on renstar.net, find out how you can qualify. And these clinical research trials, they've been doing them since 1998. There are over 700 of them, and they continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. So check them out on renstar.net. That's Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. My thanks to my partner, Brenden. He had to go back and take care of the website. Don't forget, read us on Gatorbait. There's some good stuff coming your way. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's the new thing. We're getting questions this morning on Shane's show about will you do the Sunday morning football show? I said, well, if we get enough requests and we get enough people on our YouTube channel, yes, we'll do a Sunday morning version of Orange and Blue Bloods or whatever, which people have liked. So you got to go on there and subscribe tonight. We're getting our numbers are rising fast. Be the next person to commit to it. Go to YouTube and sign on. Commit to the Buddy Martin Show every Monday through Thursday, and now probably Friday soon. More news about that. Have a good night. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, same station, same time, and some new folks, including Allie Peak Whitten. Where would I get that name from? Allie Peak Wilbur will be joining us tomorrow night. Always good to have Allie on. Have a good night, folks. We'll talk to you then. Thanks for viewing the Buddy Martin Show on all the platforms. We love doing the show when you're there, and we continue to do it for you.